All right, quiz 22, study guide. Problem number 1, the measure of two complementary angles are in the ratio 1 to 4. What are the degree measures of the two angles? All right, so complementary means that they sum 90 degrees. So we're going to take 1x plus 4x and set it equal to 90. And then we're going to solve for x. X is our multiplier. So we get 5x equals 90. Divide by 5. Ninety divided by 5 is 18. So our x is equal to 18. And again, our x is our multiplier. So what is the degree measure of the two angles? Well, one angle, call it angle 1, is equal to 1 times 18, which is 18. And the other angle, angle 2, is equal to 4 times 18. And 4 times 18 is 72. All right, so 72 degrees and 18 degrees. Just make sure that if they're asking for complementary angles, that when you add your answers together, that they equal 90 degrees. Problem number 2, a salsa recipe uses green pepper, onion, tomato in the extended ratio 1 to 3 to 9. How many cups of onion are needed to make 117 cups of salsa? So again, we're going to use this extended ratio to find a multiplier. And then since we need onion is the third ingredient in this recipe. I'm sorry, it's the middle ingredient in the recipe. We're going to solve for our multiplier, and then we're going to multiply it by the middle number in the ratio, which is the 3. So we're going to do 1x plus 3x plus 9x, and we're going to set it equal to 117. So that's 4 and 9, 13x equals 117, and divide by 13. So our x is equal to 9. That's our multiplier. So onion, how many cups of onion? That's going to be equal to 3 times the multiplier. So 3 times the 9, which is 27 cups of onion. Problem number 3, find the geometric mean of the pair of numbers, 6 and 10. So our geometric mean is equal to the square root of 6 times 10, which is the square root of 60, and that's equal to 7.7. Now, the square root of 60 can also be written as the square root of 4 times the square root of 15. Okay? With 4 being a perfect square, it can be simplified to 2 times the square root of 15. So look, if your answers, your multiple choice answers are in this format, but you get 7.7 as an answer, we'll just take the radical form of your answers and multiply them. You can type into your calculator 2 times 15 square root button. And that's equal to 7.7 as well. All right, so a number outside of a radical means to multiply by the square root of the number under the radical. So if you see your answers in this format, just multiply the 2 times the square root of 15, see what that's equal to. If it's not equal to 7.7, then obviously don't choose that answer. Multiply the next answer of choice. All right, so number 4, we got geometric mean of 275 and 11. So that's the square root of 275 times 11. And it's equal to 55. And the square root, or I'm sorry, the geometric mean. What? We're going to do the square root of 36 times 4. And 36 is a perfect square is 6. 4 is a perfect square is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Let's do 36 times 4 equals square root button. Yeah, it's 12. All right, problem number 6. What are the values of A and B? All right, yesterday that we said that the altitude running to the hypotenuse is equal to the geometric mean of the 2 segments it forms. So this is 32 times 2. That's 8. And then this leg of the triangle, B, is equal to the geometric mean of the entire hypotenuse. All right, what's the length of that entire hypotenuse there? 34, good. The geometric mean of the entire hypotenuse and the segment closest to the leg we're looking for. So 34 times 2. So 34 times 2 in your calculator. Make sure you hit equals and then the square root button, and that's 8.2. All right, problem number 7. Find the length of the altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. That's this vertical segment right through the middle of this triangle. I'm going to call it A because it's an altitude. All right, the length of the altitude is equal to the geometric mean of the 2 segments it creates. So A is equal to the square root of 7 times 21. So the square root of 147 is 12.1. All right, problem number 8. A lot of wording up here, but all the information is already in the diagram. Talking about Kristen lives directly east of the park. Okay, here's her house. Football field is directly south of the park. Okay, so football field's down here. Library sits on a line formed between Kristen's home. The library's right here. This is just a right triangle problem that we did yesterday. Okay, so for your quiz tomorrow, don't think that you have to read all of this and the word problem. Just look at the picture. Question A says, how far is library from the park? Library to the park. Isn't that an altitude drawn to a hypotenuse? Library to the park, we're going to call it A. Okay, so library to the park is equal to the geometric mean of the two segments of the hypotenuse it creates. So 5 times 2. 10 square root is 3.2. All these distances are in miles, so it's 3.2 miles. Second part of the question, how far is the park from the football field? So park to football field. I'm going to call it B. That's a leg of a right triangle. We talked about this yesterday as well. So we need the length of this entire hypotenuse. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So B is equal to the geometric mean of the entire hypotenuse and the segment of the hypotenuse closest to the leg we're trying to find. So 7 times 5. So that's 35, square root button. That's 5.9 miles. Problem number 9, what is x to the nearest tenth? All right, now we've got an angle bisector. Splits the side into 2 pieces. The length of the segment, the length of these 2 segments, the 8.3 and the 6.7, they're proportional to the sides adjacent to them. So I'm going to take the 8.3 and put it over x. And if I put 8.3 over x, I'm going to set it equal to what goes in my numerator next? The 6.7. And what goes in the denominator? The 11.6. Very good. So I'm going to crisscross multiply. 6.7x is equal to 8.3 times 11.6 equals 96.3. And then divide each side by 6.7. So this x is equal to 14.4. All right, so what I want you to do is keep this picture in mind. Keep the picture of the triangle in number 9 in mind when you do number 10. Draw basically the same picture. So if we draw the same picture. What problem number 10 says that the angle bisector of a triangle divides the opposite side of the triangle into segments 6 and 5 centimeters long. All right, so this angle bisector going through the middle of this triangle divides this side into a piece that's 6 and a piece that's 5. A second side of the triangle is 6.9 centimeters long. So a second side, it doesn't matter which side you pick. I'm going to use this side right now, 6.9. And then I'm going to move this up a little bit. Here's the question. Find the longest and shortest possible lengths of the third side of the triangle. Round your answers to the nearest tenth. So we need longest and shortest. So I'm going to put a variable right here, and I'm going to call it x. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve for the x when it is closest to the 5. All right? So we're going to do 6 over 6.9 equals 5 over x. Going to crisscross multiply. So we get 6x equal to 5 times 6.9, which is 34.5. And then divide each side by 6. And it's 5.8. So we get a 5.8 for the third side of the triangle when it's closest to the 5. Now we're going to do the problem again. But we're going to switch the 6.9 to this side. And we're going to put the x up with the 6. And now we're going to rewrite a proportion and solve it. So we're going to do 6 over the x and make it equal to 5 over the 6.9. So 5x equals 6 times 6.9, which is 41.4. Divide both sides by 5, and we get an x that's equal to 8.3. So find the longest and shortest possible lengths. We just did. The longest possible length for the third side is 8.3. These are in centimeters. And the shortest length of the third side is 5.8 centimeters. And that completes your study guide for your quiz this week. Does anybody have any questions?